Okay, great. Well, I am personally very excited for this panel because I could not imagine a better set of people to do this. So I'll quickly give my intro and then I'll let everybody individually introduce themselves. But my name's Casey. And before this, most recently, I was an investment partner at Paradigm. Before that, I was doing engineering work at Google, mainly ML and UX work. And now I'm an open source developer, also investing in the space. And so why don't we start with Scott, and then we'll just go down the line.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scott. I'm from Stability AI, Vice President of Business Development and Partnerships. Effectively, Stability is best known for launching and pioneering Stable Diffusion, which is like an image generation tool. We now have models across every major modality, video, audio, language, and various others. And yeah, really using this technology to elevate humanity is our mission statement.
Hey, I'm David Shi. I'm one of the founders of Operator.io, and we build an agent toolkit. We make it really easy for developers to take an agent that they've developed and bring it on-chain so that anyone can message it as long as you have a wallet address.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Green. I am a co-founder of Semiotic Labs. Semiotic is a core dev team in the Graph protocol, and we specialize in cryptography and AI for the protocol. My background, I got a PhD in reinforcement learning in 2019, and so yeah, these are exciting times for us, for me.
Hey everyone, thanks for being here. My name's Gabriel. I'm the founder of Liqhtworks. We are an autonomous laboratory for the future of on-chain intelligence. We're currently working on autonomous labeling networks. So for every LLM and chat that you send out to ChatGPT, there's basically an army of Filipinos that are in the back end labeling some stuff to make sure that it understands what it's learning. It's been about a decade in the space for me. I used to work at Consensus from 2015 to 2018. And before that, I was a CPA, so forever a recovering accountant.
Wow. Wow. Okay, great. So we have about 30 minutes today. I'm thinking we can do a conversation for 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up to Q&A and make this as interactive as possible. But just to kick off, I would love to hear some hot takes in terms of what do you guys think over the ETH Denver so far has been too spoken about, kind of the more of a trite topic, and what do you think people haven't talked about enough at the intersection of crypto and AI?
Happy to kick it off. So I guess I came into this looking more on the AI side. We really focus on training open foundation models and deploying those into the public, allowing anyone to access them and fine tune them, optimize them, etc. But what was really compelling is looking at how crypto Web3 technology is actually very complementary to AI, specifically generative AI. So now, learn a heck of a lot over the past several days. I think there's a few trends that are quite compelling. On the sort of training model side, still you require huge amounts of compute to do these, large language models and various other modality models. But actually on the inference side, there's something very compelling around, decentralized compute networks. I think these models are becoming smaller. You can run them on lower end hardware. So I think there's something very interesting there. The second part is attribution. So, as a creator, where your data is used in these open data sets, having the ability for systems to effectively be compensated to those initial creators is something interesting as well. And the last one is data licensing. Model licensing. So looking at, where a initial core model is trained, a variant model and fine-tune model and a derivative of that fine-tune model. There's many layers. How does that initial creator get compensated as well?
And just one follow-up question on that, Scott. So right now in Web 2, we use Hugging Face mainly for models. And I'm curious from your vantage point, why don't you think they've handled attribution yet? Or why don't they reward the model creators today?
Yeah, good point. I think Hugging Face right now is just a directory, right? It's you go to Hugging Face, you see the open models, there's some benchmarking, you see the research paper, you download it, and then you effectively go away. Why they haven't done that, I don't really know, to be honest. I think it's sort of, I guess, the next step. They have logins now, so potentially that's something that will come. But I don't think like their core focus is not really on like decentralization itself, right? Like it's a platform. It's just a directory.
Yeah, I think in crypto we focus a lot on infrastructure, and we're definitely at the time of building infrastructure, so it makes perfect sense. But I think we haven't, as an industry, really illustrated what's possible with this infrastructure. So would love to have seen more kind of what agents or AI armed with the technologies of crypto, what that could have enabled. So thinking about things like autonomous worlds, like what does it mean when AI agents like can actually transact with all the different people who want to do so? Use cases like that are, I think they're touched upon, but I think we can definitely go deeper and more creatively.
Well, let's go deeper right now. So what do you think is the most compelling agent use case where somebody, even age agnostic, where you could really explain the value proposition to them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I had the same answer on a previous panel today, but I think something that's underlooked is autonomous agents in the context of NPCs in the real world. Like I think we haven't fully discussed what it means to have like NPCs that are part of our reality, that have a stable crypto identity that has different kind of rules, that can interact in different kind of environments. You can have one agent that lives on multiple crypto games, right? Multiple on-chain games in multiple autonomous worlds. And I think seeing that as it's not just something that's within this like virtual world, but something that's like actually exists in ours, I think that's very interesting.
And so just so people in the audience, because agents is more of a newer term in the last year, sometimes I hear people just say, or like from my bench, I think it's more just like a dApp, like an on-chain app that uses AI and primarily LLMs today. But can you just break it down from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that what I would call an agent is essentially it's any application or any software that uses intelligence as part of its core kind of functionality. So you can think of a dApp as really it's pretty deterministic, right? You want to swap like one token for another token, that's a dApp. If you have a agent that is, it can technically be a dApp, but what it could do is it could also have like a process or an intelligent kind of conversation with you. So you can talk to it about like which tokens you should swap. And I think like adding, especially with generative AI, large language models, I think that's really how you bridge the gap between like what a normal dApp is and what like an agent dApp is.
Got it.
So your original question was about what is not being discussed enough?
Yeah, what is being discussed too much and what is being discussed not enough?
So I don't know if this will answer your question, but I think in general, like last year, there was no AI at ETH Denver, like no AI conversations. And this time we're having like, 10 days, full days of AI conversations. So I think right now, I think that this is a time of experimentation. People are excited about this field for obvious reasons, but I don't know if product market fit has been found in this space, and I think that's okay. Right now we're trying to experiment with the technology and see what works. So I think a lot of people probably think that, and I think it's important to just, for me, it's important to recognize that this is a time of experimentation, and we're trying to see what fits. My hypothesis about where it probably will fit, and why we would go through the expense of decentralizing AI, is putting the decisions of the agents, of AI, whether it's agents or not, back on chain. So I think right now, I believe that crypto has found best product market fit in DeFi. I also think that there's going to be many other things like decentralized social media, DePIN. There's going to be many other applications in the future. But right now, DeFi has been the thing that has had the best product market fit, and having agents that control on-chain funds in a decentralized way, I think that's where that's where I think there's going to be a short-term value.
And so just to even be more explicit, it would be an agent that's directing yield farming without a human in the loop.
For example, yes.
Yeah, one example. Okay.
Or crypto taxes. That needs to be fixed.
I will not comment on taxes because I'm done being an accountant. Let's see, hot take. So I think too much, here's what there's too much of. There's too much agent marketplace stuff, I think, that the conversations I've been having. And the analogy people are using is like a very Web 2 analogy. So the picture they're trying to create in your mind is like App Store for agents. And if you've played with ChatGPT, you might have played with their agent marketplace, and you can like create an agent and like tell it to talk to you in a certain kind of way, and then give it a picture and that kind of thing. But I'm not super interested in that. I'm much more interested in the inverse. So agents as market makers and marketplaces. So kind of like filling in this and disintermediating this large group of people that sit in the middle of an organization that just pass paper back and forth. Order books, things like this, intelligent agents that literally go out and make markets and pair buyers and sellers rather than just sitting dumb inside of like an app inside of a marketplace. So kind of connected, yeah.
Yeah, just to add on that, I completely agree. I think if you have agents that sit as the new intermediaries, it's actually superior to any of the existing systems, right? We trust many agents in our day-to-day lives. I'm sure a lot of you have booked Airbnbs to stay for this conference in Denver. You're trusting Airbnb to kind of act as an agent in that regard. But what if we could have transparency in the algorithms and the systems of the agents that would matchmake us with, where we want to stay during a conference? I think there's a lot of opportunity in kind of taking the decentralization technology that we've created and transforming it and moving it into more of the traditional kind of marketplace / agents. So yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and actually, like, even outside of crypto Web3, like open models and like distributed systems are effectively needed for like regulated industries anyway, because they just need to be able to like fully audit what is going to be happening with these autonomous agents. So like financial sector, health sector, effectively regulators need to be able to see how this underlying technology was trained, what the data was trained on, and then be able to have the ability to view like every single transaction that happened in that chain, like for high frequency trading, for like credit card fraud, all these types of financial situations.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, I think one of the maybe most unsettling dynamics of this industry is the speculation that's going on with crypto AI, and the fact that there are these tokens that are accruing so much FTV and TVL, and maybe they're not the most robust under the hood. And so I just kind of want to hear from you guys, as all of you are technologists. How do you reckon this, and how do you kind of think about operating in this space, which is kind of plagued by this devil of excessive greed?
My running joke for the entire week when I have conversations and people come up to me and ask me, how's ETH Denver been, is say AI and money falls from the sky. That's kind of how the conversations have been going. There's a bunch of these projects out there, I won't name them, that I think are really like, they're getting big names kind of behind them, and people are just kind of running and dumping into them.
How much we need to pay you to name them?
When token, yes, let's, probably a little bit more than the current valuation of, I would have to name it. No, there's a decentralized AGI company that's out there raising at a very handsome valuation, let's say, with no product yet and a lot of reputation. So there's a lot of these projects going on, right? And there are some projects with just big names behind them, and they're kind of just raising on the hype. And there's kind of like a rush to like just dump some money into some of these kind of like more or less Ponzi schemes with decentralized AGI. But when you look deeply at like what they're building and what's being used in the ecosystem, it's all just a financial game. And like you have to ask yourself, like, who's using the models, right? and again, not naming any projects, but there are some of these like very well capitalized, high market cap projects in the space where nobody's using the models, right? And that is a signal of something. So I think there's still a way to go for the crypto part of crypto AI to be taken seriously, I think, in the proper AI community. For the last 10 years, the AI community has had a lot of reasons to actually hate us because we've been eating up all the GPUs for the past 10 years to mine shitcoins, right? So
Yes.
so there's still some trust building that we need to do. And I think it's great that there are legitimate partners coming into the space like Stability that have models that are widely used, that are doing incredible things and like innovating at the edges and creating vibrant communities just like ours, so that people can have better access to these literally magic powers, right? So I think we should just be patient and just look at where the proper AI people are building, and just augment what they're doing with kind of the funny token incentive games that we like to play.
That was a great answer. Does anyone want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just there's generally this it's technological revolutions. There's generally a phase of mania. I think it's relatively clear that when valuations are not in line with what is actually being delivered, there is some degree of mania, and we should probably recognize that. At the same time, I think that the tools and the technology that have been created are so much more sophisticated than they've ever been. So technologists can really like start using these and think about the first principles of what can be done with them. So I really think it's just like keeping the eye on the prize of what this technology can do, implementing systems that leverage that, yeah, like I think the financial incentives and financial engineering games are really just like they're interrelated in some degree, but they're not, the industry and crypto AI is not reliant on them playing out to be successful.
Yeah, just to add on that, absolutely right. I think looking at this space, it's like, I think there's tokens are interesting, and I think they're applicable for like adding incentive into an existing system or framework. And effectively, I think a lot of Web3 and crypto is still based on like speculative, financial incentives. But actually, what's interesting about really what AI is doing now is this technology is here, right? Like we literally access it right now in this room, and it has profound effect and profound value on our everyday lives, and it's only going to get more enhanced. So I think there's a sort of shift where it's more of a utility value incentive that can be built into these models. And we're looking at, right now, foundation models still require huge amounts of data to be trained on. Like Stable Diffusion was trained on like 100,000 gigabytes of image data. Our video model was trained on a petabyte of video data, which is, like 1 million gigabytes of data. It's like a fuck ton of data. And I think right now, foundation model companies are going out and acquiring and licensing data. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, acquiring high quality licensed data sets. And that data gets stale. That data contains biases in some cases. It can lead to discriminatory experiences for the end user. And actually, like, if there's a way that you can incentivize collaborative participation systems, through some incentive structure where people are getting so much value from these models, they want to improve them, they want to get more value from them. That doesn't have to be strictly token financially incentivized.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, I heard, one dynamic that's happened over the last year is obviously now we have these big base models, and then in this coming year, there's going to be a lot of more specialized models that are more fine-tuned for specific use cases as we start to bifurcate the market in different ways. And something that you mentioned on a different panel was national models. I just want to hear a little bit more about that and what you're thinking from that regard.
Yeah, so we basically, so actually Stability, when it first was conceived, it started off as a DAO of DAOs. And effectively why we didn't proceed with that was because the technology and the token economics weren't really aligned. So we effectively moved to a structure where we knew we wanted to deploy this technology in open source and make sure these models continue to stay open. accessible to all, with the premise of effectively elevating humanity at the same pace of change. What we did is we effectively trained, like core foundational models across every major modality, like video, audio, all the ones I said. And that becomes somewhat like, almost like a primal like artifact in this ecosystem. So, you can take them and you can build on top of them and you can fine tune them and you can effectively integrate them into your own applications and do what you like with them. I think now, like, that's gone very well. Like there's 140 million downloads of stability like official models just on Hugging Face. There's 300 million plus downloads of variant models. So they've taken those models and effectively fine tune them and refine them. But still, if there's a system where you can create, country specific and culturally relevant models across these modalities, that kind of enhances it even further. Every single country, every single nation state should effectively own the intelligence of their own country and the historical data of that country. It's a basic right. So moving to a state where we have a framework to deploy, country cultural models across those different modalities, that's sort of what we're looking at now.
How scared is the group of AI regulation? Because I think it's also related to this. I would just love to ask this panel, are you guys coming at the crypto AI intersection with a fear based on what's happening in the US?
Of regulation of AI?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think in general, people in crypto are wary of regulation. And I'm in the camp that thinks that the big companies that are pushing regulation are trying to do regulatory capture of AI. They have the resources to hire the lawyers and to deal with the bureaucracy.
Send them to DC.
Excuse me?
And send them to DC to help with the policy.
Exactly. Right, they're setting the policy. They'll jump through the hoops. They can jump through the hoops, and it will become a benefit for them and a barrier to entry for, open source AI. So I personally hate the regulations, the discussions that are happening.
Do you have a prediction of what happens from here? 4 years, 5 years down the road, what does AI regulation look like, and how does our community save the day?
Yeah, I think that there are going to be regulations. I think probably what's going to happen is the models will get more advanced, and these models are basically what's happening. In my opinion, is the regulations are also going to fold AI into the military-industrial complex, and probably for good reason. If I were the government, I would also want to be able to have first dibs on state-of-the-art models. I think that what's going on, what we're doing in crypto crypto is actually becoming stronger and stronger at being able to interface with the regulators outside of the AI context. I think that experience is going to be important for us. That is going to be an important learning experience, and that we may need to help open source AI or use that experience to make sure that we still have the freedom to do stuff.
Yeah, I think one way to go about this is making sure that we have fully open, auditable, and permissionless models. Regulators effectively, I think they're more scared of closed proprietary models than they are of effectively open models, because you can't actually audit these models. You can't see the weights and code, and you can't see the data they were trained on, effectively know how they work. So what is the secret sauce? So I think that's one step to get regulators more happy about how at least the models that are deployed can be used. But yeah, I mean I think the concern is the technology is moving so fast, and effectively it does have the ability to really have huge economic impact and security, societary impacts. But actually restricting it is not the best way to go either. If US restricts it, if UK restricts it, if EU restricts it, there's going to be other countries that effectively take it. And it's going to be bad actors that go and advance it, utilize it for bad purposes. So it's almost you need the ability to have open models that allow you to also like prevent, the negative aspects of how these models are utilized. We put like huge amounts of security into our, models to stop adult content and like C-sound filtration and not safe for work and things like this, because we think it's right and we think it's the right thing to do as an organization.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's easy to forget that regulation is not we don't live in a monarchy, right, in this country. I think like there's a lot of push and pull with the constituents and the users of these technologies. I think that crypto it definitely created a framework of so many people kind of adopted it that it's much more difficult. It's much more difficult to just arbitrarily kind of shut off access to it. I think Uber kind of went through the same pattern, right? Like Uber ostensibly broke many regulations as they launched their service, but as they delivered a lot of value, politicians realized, hey, our constituents would hate us, and we would just be this like. We would be this.
Totally.
We would be basically on the hook for removing this really valuable service. So I think with AI, it's much of the same thing. I think work with regulators, kind of educate them on really like what the state of the art is, and then keep in mind that if this technology is really adding value to a lot of people, it's not really a binary black or white process. There's a lot of work that can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to do one more question, and then we'll open up to Q&A. Starting with Gabe, I want to do an ask and an offer framework. So one offer to the community in terms of crypto AI that you can do, like knowledge or pretty much anything, and then one ask. If it's like you're recruiting, you want somebody to come talk to you about something really general. Actually, I'll start just to give an example, and then we'll pass it on to you. So my offer is that I've been doing a lot of back-end work for providers on Akash. So if anybody's getting started on Akash and needs help, I'm probably your girl. I think I'm their largest provider right now. And then my ask is I'm always looking for more open source devs to collaborate with that are ethically and values aligned and just looking to put cool software out in the world. So if that's you, come find me after. And then Gabe, do you want to continue?
Hello? Sure. So my offer is my gift of language. If there are people in this audience that are more on the AI side that need to know a little bit more about the crypto side, I'm pretty fluent. Let's talk, and I can help you kind of speak the language a little bit more to understand what elements of crypto actually make sense in AI. And on the flip side also, if you're a little bit more on the crypto side and want to get more into kind of what's going on in machine learning and AI, I can speak the language a little bit too, and we can kind of like talk about what things might make sense in your crypto project, something like that. My ask is if any of you are starting AI companies in the next year, 2 years, tomorrow, something like this, and you need services around labeling data and training models. My company is starting to focus on giving equity to those who actually put in a lot of the boots on the ground labor to get these things labeled so that they can then train the models afterwards. And a lot of these countries and people who participate in this process for the past 10 years have not received an equitable or commensurate amount of value. And meanwhile, some of the largest companies in the space are raising, billions, if not trillions of dollars for who knows what, right? And I think where crypto really excels is in thinking about tokenization and equity for those who participate in building a network and building something valuable. So that's something that I want to participate in for the next decade. So come find me if you want to talk about that.
So I'm going to combine the offer and ask. So in the graph, what the graph does is a decentralized network of indexers. We monitor 40 plus blockchains, and we organize all the data on 40 plus blockchains. And in the protocol, we already have a bunch of validators, hundreds of validators in the protocol. And it's basically, they run infrastructure, and it's basically free, a very small change for us to add GPUs to these validators' infrastructure. So, we already have a token. We're not launching a token. We already have a network. We already have all these rules in place. So we're just going to do a small tweak and add open source models to the network. And on top of that, then we're going to launch this inference data service on the protocol. And our value proposition is that we already have data, organized data from 40 plus chains, and we believe that there's going to be value to having the inference and the data right next to each other in the future training with that data right next to each other. My ask is that we focus on being the middleware and the compute provider. I would like to collaborate with applications that need or want decentralized compute. Especially, our goal for everything we do is to be able to provide verifiability in the long run. So we want to be able to if you have like agent-based systems that you want to launch, we would like to help enable that, and in the future be able to provide verifiability of the inference and privacy of the inference.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same as Sam. So I've been building, as well as working with a lot of teams on building AI agents that specifically leverage crypto. So if you've ever thought about building an agent that leverages on-chain data, I'll give an example. So an agent that's able to basically respond to the identity of someone who's using it. Let's say, hey, do you have this NFT? You can use my agent. Or hey, if you've done this transaction, this agent knows. If you've ever thought about building agents in crypto, there's a lot of value that you can provide, both for the rest of the world as well as for many of the networks that are doing so. So I'm happy to help draft proposals or help design MVPs. I've done it many times at this point. So happy to do that. And you can find me and my company at operator.io. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And David's amazing to work with, so I highly recommend coming to find him.
Yeah, my give is we gave like about 20 million A100 hours for academia and research purposes last year, and we expect to do the same this year. That's about like plus 50 million in market rate compute. So yeah, effectively, if you have a really interesting idea that you want to develop, we'd love to hear about it and like support you in that endeavor. Crypto taxes is still one that I want someone to fix. And then yeah, my ask would be just please use the models and give us feedback. I think we want further feedback specifically on our code model, which is like trained on 18 of the most popular code languages. But if you're not a developer and you want to be one, that's a good place to start.
Okay, great. So I think we have time for 2 questions. If anybody wants to raise their hand. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Just go through, say your name, your Twitter, and your company.
Sure.
Be loud.
My name's Gabriel. On Twitter, it's player0x, and it's player ZER0, the number 0x. And my company is Liqhtworks, and it's spelled like light, like the thing in the sky, but the G is a Q.
My name is Sam Green. I'm on Twitter at 0x Sam Green, and I'm at Semiotic Labs, and we're a core dev team with the graph. Our website is semiotic.ai.
Hey, my name is David. My Twitter handle is prompt rotator. So like you prompt ChatGPT that prompt, and then like rotator as in like shape rotator. And my company is operator.io.
And Scott's from Stability AI. My Twitter handle is complicated. It's SCO, the O is a 0, TT_TY. Yeah, not great.
My name is Casey Caruso. My Twitter is my first name, Casey, my middle initial, K, and then my last name, Caruso. Okay, cool. Any other questions before we wrap up? Somebody's got to have one question. Okay, amazing.
So you talk about the AI in a perspective that AI is helping and synergies with crypto, but I'm thinking like in a generative future where things like Sora that can create like digital realities. How can blockchain can be a countermeasure from like humans who create content, for example, how they can use blockchains, for example, to timestamp content, right? Like, because in the future, as this evolve, we've seen with Sora, is that like anybody can create a digital reality. But how humans can protect themselves against that reality using blockchains.
Thank you.
Yeah, it has to happen on the training data side. So, as a one of the images or video content that's effectively in that initial training data, there needs to be some type of like attribution. This is being used, and then I think your point. I think some type of like watermark, just so at least like, computationally we know that this is AI generated, and it can be like signaled to the end user, or there's some way to verify it. I think that's fundamentally important. I mean, like data, we're going to have so much data from like all of the. We're all creators now, right? We're all artists. We're all videographers. We're going to have more and more data that's going to be generated, synthetic data, everything. So it's a good question.
I have a take on that. I don't know about how blockchain is going to solve it, but cryptography, I think, will have a role in it. There's a nice paper by Dan Bonnet. He's a cryptographer at Stanford. And what they're doing is they're embedding basically cryptography at the sensor level so that everything that's captured is signed. And I think that that's going to be important in the future, is that every media device that we have has cryptography in it so that everything can be signed cryptographically.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.